All right, people, let's jump right in. The 10 secrets Trump can't hide anymore. Representative Crockett's brutal summary. Number 10. She flat out says Trump is more corrupt and more criminal than any president before him. And she backs it up, reminding everyone he's the only former president with 34 felony convictions. That's the context for why he's fighting so hard to keep those files buried.
Donald Trump has been investigated more than the normal, but he just happens to be more corrupt and more criminal than any other president than we've had. I will point out he is the only president who has been convicted of 34 felony convictions ever had in the Oval Office. So while we don't know exactly what crimes he may or may not have committed, just think of it this way. If you know that you didn't do anything, then why is it that you would be twisting members of your own party's arms, trying to get them not to release it? This would be exonerating. If you know that you are free and clear, then why not say, you know what, release the files? In fact, he campaigned on releasing the files because he didn't realize that anything that he was involved in whatsoever was involved in the files.
Number 9. Representative Crockett shuts down the excuse that the former president isn't hiding anything. She makes it clear the evidence does exist. And she reminds everyone that even the former attorney general admitted those files are real. In other words, the only people pretending nothing's there are the ones terrified of what's inside.
I think that that's actually one of the things that we should talk about, is that the president has tried to call this all a hoax. I don't think you have this many people dying around a hoax. I don't think you have somebody trying to hide files around a hoax. We know that there's something there. We know that his own attorney general had to admit that he is in the files.
Coming in at number 8, Crockett makes it plain Trump knew exactly what was going on. She points to his own admission that he tried to kick Ghislaine Maxwell out of Mar-a-Lago because the place was allegedly being used for recruitment. That's not speculation. That's Trump himself acknowledging the environment and the behavior. It's direct confirmation that he was aware of the situation unfolding around him.
So, number 1, it is clear that he knew what was going on, which I think that he's kind of alluded to that at some point in time, because the president said that he was trying to kick Ghislaine out of Mar-a-Lago because it seems like that's where girls were being recruited from based on information that we have.
Number 7. Now we're getting even more explosive. Crockett breaks down the Michael Wolff email, and Crockett doesn't hold back. She spotlights the strategy laid out in black and white. Let Trump hang himself by denying obvious visits to the townhouse. Even more shocking, the email spells out that rescuing Trump from that scandal could be leveraged to create a massive political debt. In other words, Epstein wasn't just collecting dirt, he was banking power.
This email up. It says, I think you should let him hang himself. And this is in response to a question of whether CNN would plan to ask Trump in a town hall about the relationship with Epstein. Epstein said, how do we craft an answer for him? And Michael Wolff says in this email, I think you let him hang himself. If he says he hasn't been on the plane or to the House, then that gives you a valuable PR and political currency. You can hang him in a way that potentially generates a positive benefit for you. Or if it really looks like he could win, you could save him, generating a debt. Of course, it is possible that when asked, he'll say Jeffrey is a great guy and has gotten a raw deal and is a victim of political correctness, which is to be outlawed in a Trump regime.
Yes.
That's the full email.
Yes.
Now let's drill down on that word, debt. The email exchange between Epstein and Michael Wolff reveals the core political power the convicted sex offender held. This wasn't about friendship, this was about leverage. The political obligation to Epstein. The Wolff email suggests a quid pro quo. If Trump denies being on the plane, Epstein has the political currency to hang him. But if he looks like he's going to win, Epstein could swoop in and save him, generating a debt. This means his entire presidency could have started under a massive political obligation. Buckle up and hold on to your wigs, because the threat of exposure is very real, and it takes the number 6 spot. Crockett drops another bombshell email where Epstein straight up hints at squeezing Trump by threatening to reveal he'd been on the plane. That's Epstein showcasing the exact incriminating details he had in his back pocket.
But let me tell you something. Another thing that was said in that other email that he had with Michael Wolff was he was talking about if he wants to basically play hardball, we will make mention of the fact that he really has been on the plane. And I don't remember if it mentioned the island.
Coming in at number 5, Crockett zeroes in on the heart of the leverage. Epstein had something to hang over Trump's head. She asks the exact question everyone else avoids. How do you rack up a political debt that big unless someone is holding serious dirt? The implication is loud and clear. You don't owe that kind of favor unless the other side has something dangerous, something damaging, something you can't let out. And that's exactly what she says they're trying to uncover. What was the leverage, who had it, and how deep the connection really went?
Jeffrey Epstein had something to hang over his head. Why else or how else could you have a debt that you are able to?
Number 4. This one's chilling. Crockett digs into an April 2nd, 2011 email where Epstein writes to Maxwell, and the content is devastating. In it, Epstein claims Trump was with a victim at his house for several hours. Crockett stresses she's hunting down the exact email to be precise, but the allegation itself is unmistakable. This isn't rumor, this isn't guesswork. It's Epstein documenting events in real time. And if that email holds up, it places Trump in the same room for hours with someone identified as a victim.
I'm just trying to find that email so I can be really precise here. But it talks about how Epstein is emailing Maxwell saying that Trump was with a victim at his house for several hours. This is an email from April 2nd, 2011.
Number 3. Crockett pulls back the curtain on the political maneuvering behind the scenes. She explains that the subcommittee handling all of this is chaired by Summer Lee, and that's where things get wild. She says this was a classic case of the tail wagging the dog, outside pressure forcing the committee's hand. In the end, even the chairman was cornered. A bipartisan majority demanded action, and he had no choice but to go through with it. That means the push to expose these emails wasn't partisan noise. It was powerful enough to override the chairman himself.
This subcommittee, the ranking member is Summer Lee. So it was that subcommittee. So this was actually the tail wagging the dog. I just want to be clear about that. And ultimately, the chairman had a vote that was bipartisan, that was the majority, and he had to do it.
Number 2. This is where the whole picture sharpens. Crockett reveals that Epstein was in real-time conversations with author Michael Wolff during Trump's first presidential run. And in those emails, Epstein makes it clear he believed he had serious leverage over Trump. He even suggests the Trump administration would be a political free-for-all because of the control he thought he held. Crockett points out the pattern fits. Trump went on to pardon people widely seen as dangerous, and she warns they're now watching to see if he'd go as far as pardoning Ghislaine Maxwell. Epstein wasn't whispering rumors. He was openly describing his grip on a future president.
From based on information that we have. But more importantly is that he was having conversation, he being Jeffrey Epstein, with Michael Wolff, who is writing this book or trying to put together this book. And in real time, as Trump is running for his first presidential run, we hear or we see that he made it clear that he believes that he has leverage over Trump. And he said that a Trump regime would basically open up, this is me paraphrasing, this is not exactly what it said, but basically it'd be a free-for-all. And as we've seen, especially in this second term, it's been a free-for-all where Trump has absolutely pardoned some folk that we know are terrible, and we are waiting on him to pardon Ghislaine Maxwell, I think.
Number 1, this is the bombshell, the reason Americans are staring at this absolute circus of an administration. Crockett reveals that the only reason we have these emails is because they came from Epstein's estate, not the Department of Justice, not Kash Patel, not anyone in power who should have turned them over. Despite having subpoenas from the Oversight Committee for ages, Patel is still sitting on evidence. Crockett says thank God someone out there still respects the law, because it sure isn't the people who actually ran the investigation, and it raises the biggest question of all. If this is what we found from the estate, imagine what we'd uncover if they released the real investigatory files.
The only reason that we have these emails is because we were able to get them from the estate, not because the Department of Justice was releasing information, not because Kash Patel was releasing information, even though they've had subpoenas from the Oversight Committee for some time. Kash Patel continues to hold back information. So I thank God that there is somebody that still respects the law and still respects subpoenas in this country, but it's not the people that are in power to do it, the people that actually conducted the investigation. Imagine what we may discover if we got the investigatory information versus getting something from an estate.
Like and subscribe, and most importantly, leave your comments with your rational position.
Now, exactly what it was, who knows, right? And that's what we're trying to get to the bottom of.